So my car sits around a lot, and so the battery, you need to maintain the battery. It ran down. It sat there for 3 months and the battery ran down, so it's drawing a little current, but I'm not sure. The battery's got a few years on it. So anyway, there's the battery. And so the first thing you do is just put a good charge on it and let it charge overnight, at 5 or 10 amps, something like that. And let it charge overnight and see what it does. And then after that, you can do some tests on it and see if it's still a good battery. Because running the battery down, especially an older battery, once you run them down once or twice, they start to really lose their life and they need to be replaced. So I don't want that to happen. So the other thing is on this here, on the car, you need to check the battery area and make sure it's clean, and if it's not clean, clean it out. So what you do to clean a car battery area is you get a little water, put some bicarbonate of soda or baking soda in it, not too much, a little bit, and just wash the area out. Any of that white stuff, the soda will neutralize any of that acid that's around. So just wash it, wipe it out. It's not very dirty in this car, but there was a tiny little bit of white powder here. I'll clean up. And if the terminals are dirty, you need to wash them down too. These are fine, they're not dirty. But wash them down with the bicarbonate of soda, and even soak them. You can soak them in there for quite a while, and soak that stuff off and use a wire brush to get all that white stuff off of there, or blue, or whatever color that powdery stuff is. And then once you do that, you go to step 3. So this has been charging a couple of days. It's a little worrisome because it's on the lowest setting, which is about 2 amps, and it started going up higher, which means the resistance of the battery is lower, which I'm a little worried about. But we'll see. I don't know. This battery's pretty old, but it's got a little indicator in here. I don't know if you can see it, but if you look in there, well, it's showing green, which says sufficiently charged, and yellow shows, but it's not yellow at all. It says yellow's replaced battery, but it's not yellow at all. Anyway, I'm gonna disconnect it. So the next thing after charging it is use your little battery wire brush thingy and clean the terminals. So, because they've got lead dioxide on there. I think it's lead dioxide or lead oxide. And just put it on there and turn it a while. And you see the lead is real bright and shiny. Do it over here. And the lead is real shiny. So while it's shiny, before it gets a coating of oxidized lead on it, put a little grease on there. Just rub a little grease on there. That will exclude the oxygen, and also it excludes water and stuff too. So they're much less likely to oxidize and get all that nastiness around a battery if you just put a little grease around the terminals, and also around where the terminal goes in there, so the acid, the liquid acid, can't seep up through there and get on there. A little grease makes a lot of difference. So now I'm going to install it in the car. Okay, so I bought a new battery for my car. I was looking at the other battery, and it turns out that it was sold in November of 2010, which means that battery lasted 10.5 years, which is unbelievable for a lead acid battery. It's a BMW battery, and it probably costs a lot of money, but it lasted 10.5 years, so that's an incredible value, you know. This battery, prices have gone up a lot on batteries, but this one will be fine. Fits the car. So, of course, like with all batteries, clean the terminals. Even though it's brand new, clean the terminals anyway. See how much shinier it is? It's just shinier when you clean them, you know. Put a little grease on them. Keep them from, that way they stay shiny, right? The metal is always available. Put a little grease right on there. On that one. And on this one. Okay. Now we go install it in the car. Okay, so you put the battery down in there, put the little mounting bracket on. If there's a bolt or anything that has threads, I usually put a little grease on them too so that they resist corrosion. Just a tiny little bit's all you need. I've found over the years that it helps keep things nice if you just put a tiny dab of grease on things. Tighten up the mounting bracket. Hook up the vent hose. This battery has a vent hose. Gotta hook it up. I always put the positive on first. That way if you happen to spark your wrench against anything on the ground, it doesn't burn your wrench all to heck, you know. Because the ground disconnected means the battery's disconnected. It's a little safer, I don't know. People have different opinions on that sort of thing. Okay, positive. Here's the negative. Hey, the lights came on. Okay. One thing I found working on computers is if you put the cover on, if you've been working on a computer and you put the cover on before you test the computer, you will always have to take the cover back off in order to fix something you forgot. But if you leave the cover off, then it always tests out fine. And it's the same way with this. I'm going to leave the cover off and test it out first. Because if I put the cover on and then test it, something will be wrong. I'll have to take the cover right back off. Don't call me suspicious. Let's see if it starts. It starts running a little weird, but at least it starts. I'll have to hook up the diagnostic thing and set the battery and do a few settings before I can before it'll run right. Hey, what's going on? Okay, so the battery tests out all right. That means I can put the cover on now. we go, nothing to it. Okay, so I'm pretty stoked. I'm got the new battery in, and I looked it up, and it turns out I don't need to register the battery. This car is a 2004 car, so it doesn't require registration. But I did get my new diagnostic scanner, and I ran the scan on it and cleared all the codes. And I've got one little problem with the ABS that I've been worried about, but it turns out it's just the right front wheel sensor. That's about a $20 part. So I've got that on order, and I'll get the new wheel sensor in it and clear those codes and give the car a good detailing. It needs a new windshield, and then I'm going to give it to my son for his engagement party. So I love the car, but you know, I don't use it much anymore. And so he'll get a lot more fun out in California than I do here in the Colorado Rockies. So good, things are working out. We're charging that battery and cleaning the terminals, and the little green indicator says it's charged fully. It still doesn't want to start the car with gusto. I have to put the charger on it and let it run on boost mode for a while before it'll start the car. So the battery's just shot. You know, it's about 5-6 years old, and it was working fine, but you know, it ran down while the car was sitting here for several months unused, and that ruined the battery. So that's what happens with an old battery. When you run an old battery down, they're very likely to not come back to life. So I'll get a new battery and put it in there, and life will be better.